Hello and welcome to ToughPigs at 20, a Muppet fan podcast from ToughPigs.com. This is the series where we're looking back on the past 2 decades of the website for Muppet fans who grew up, featuring interviews with the writers and artists who helped make it happen. Our guest today is the current co-owner and head writer of ToughPigs, and the author of well over 1,000 articles. He's also co-host of my favorite... I know, right? Did you know that? He's also co-host of my favorite podcast, Moving Right Along. He's been my writing partner since 2006, and hey, he's my former roommate. We are extremely proud to welcome Ryan Roe to the podcast. Hello, Ryan.
Hello. Thank you for remembering my 20th birthday.
You're so welcome. You look great for 20.
Has anyone else also used that joke?
No one else has used that joke, but we are recording in out of order, so...
Somebody else will use that joke.
Yes, right, and they might have said it already on this podcast. We don't know. Anything can happen. Well, thanks for joining. It's great to meet you, finally. Okay, so for our first question here, I got to know, because this is news to me. How did you first join ToughPigs?
Well, that goes back to, before I joined the ToughPigs universe, which is when a lot of us were on the Muppet Central forum back in the day, and then eventually Danny Horn founded the ToughPigs website, and along with it he founded the ToughPigs forum, and there were a bunch of us there who became really good friends over the course of several years. And then when Danny co-founded Muppet Wiki, that sort of took up a lot of his time, and he wasn't really working on the ToughPigs website anymore. So that was also right around the time that I moved to New York City, and you and I became roommates.
That's right. So we met through the ToughPigs forum.
Yeah, so you and I were kind of talking about, it's too bad that Danny hasn't, he doesn't have so much time to update the website anymore. And then it was just this thought of wait a minute, what if we asked Danny if he thought that, some of us, his loyal readers and fellow Muppet geeks could write for the website, while he doesn't have so much time to do it. And then we did, and it started out, I think the idea was that there was going to be a group of 5 of us that were going to write for the website all the time. And then you and I ended up being the only ones who wrote anything regularly.
Whatever happened to those guys that promised that they would do all this work, and then they just said, forget it.
Yeah, so then it just kind of turned into you and me. But then eventually, over more years, people were reading our stuff. And then of those people, we discovered that some of them were very funny and witty. And then we brought a bunch of them on board to write with us.
It's true. That's the whole story.
That I told more of the story than you asked in that question.
You did, but
I feel like you have to go be before the question and after the question for me to fully answer that question.
No, you did it perfectly. I actually expect you to go way back to the news group days, pre-Muppet Central.
I was. Yes, it's true. I was, as a young lad, I was on the alt.tv.muppets Usenet group, the news group.
I was there.
And then, and then eventually... there was this decision. I don't even know how to describe news groups for people who don't know what they were or were too young.
It's kind of like Reddit with no pictures, where you just you found a topic. They have these names. I don't know how we found alt.tv.muppets or whatever it was, Swedish.chef.bork.bork.bork.
Right.
But we found them, and then you could have these conversations in these threads, just like any forum nowadays. Not that people really use forums anymore, but and I remember being on them when I was young, and then getting bored with them really quickly, because it seemed to be the same kind of conversations over and over again of things like, what's your favorite Muppet, And it was just
that does happen, and you can't really blame people who get excited when they first discover that there's a community of Muppet fans, and they always do come up with the same questions, what's your favorite movie, what's your favorite Muppet, but and a lot of those people from the news group days are still around. You still see them commenting on Facebook groups,
just
and things
older.
like that. So, and then it was decided at one point that alt.tv.muppets, the alt section of Usenet was too, I don't know, unrefined or something. So we moved to rec.arts.henson plus Muppets. There was a big debate over, should it be rec.arts.muppets? Should it be rec.arts.henson? Like, should we incorporate both words in the name? And
wow, I was not part of that. I don't remember that
Yeah.
at all. And then you were also a Muppet Zine subscriber back in the day, right?
Yeah, in the last couple years, I don't remember how many years Muppet Zine was around.
It was about 5 years.
But
yeah,
yeah, I think maybe I found out about it because Danny Horn was on the news group and talked about it, and then yeah, I think I got my first issue maybe like just around the time that we heard that Muppet Treasure Island was coming up.
this seems about right.
Yeah, so that was exciting.
And
I got a a letter published on the balcony page in an issue where I gave my review of Muppets Tonight, which is very poorly written. If people want to seek that out,
and if you
it's
do,
on ToughPigs.
if you do find that issue, I believe I also have a from the balcony. Article in an article, a paragraph in that same issue, which is kind of hysterical to see both of us in the same.
Yeah.
Also,
is that your
very
theory about how
poorly
the Muppet movie is the same as The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I wrote two. One was about it was about the Muppet movie and the Wizard of Oz, which like, come on, of course, like no brainer. I mean, how old was I? That was probably like 13, 14 years old. Like, what?
But when you're that age, you think that you're just figuring it out. Like it doesn't occur to you like, wait a minute. I think they did this on purpose. It's like, oh, I just noticed this thing that no one else noticed before.
I believe I wrote the joke. I'm using finger quotes for joke because it's not that funny. The joke of something like and Frank Oz and Wizard of Oz. Coincidence? I think not.
Well, that's funny because then they did a Frank Oz joke in the Muppets Wizard of Oz.
That's right.
TV
So they obviously
later.
stole that from my terribly written paragraph in one issue of a printed zine that no one read. So I wrote that.
I don't know, man.
I
I think some of the Muppet people must have read that.
Yeah, probably. I wrote one too, also about how disappointed I was with Kermit, and it had nothing to do with Steve Whitmire's voice, because in those days people complained about Steve's Kermit voice. But
this is something that is often forgotten today. Now that everyone is,
that's true.
Not everyone, but some people are complaining about Matt Vogel's voice. That there was a time it wasn't as easy to go on the internet and complain.
Right.
But there were a lot of complaints
That's right.
about Steve Whitmire's
We had to
Kermit
complain
voice.
in a zine.
We had to write a letter and mail it to a person who would print it in a homemade zine.
But no, I was specifically commenting on how like milquetoast Kermit had become, because I was specifically calling out the line of like we're in Muppet Treasure Island where he meets Jim Hawkins and he says, "I knew your father. He was a good man." And I'm like, that is the dullest thing. And there it is. And now for some reason I glommed onto that one line, and and then I wrote about it. I complained about it, and Danny printed it, and thank God I'm a better writer now. I hope. Please tell me I'm a better writer.
I think we've all improved in the last 20-something years.
Yes. So speaking of going way back, I want to go back to January 9th, 2007, to your very first ToughPigs article. Do you happen?
This feels like this is your life.
Do you recognize this voice? It's me. Do you know what your first article was for ToughPigs?
Well, I seem to recall that because we were doing the sort of like, hey, it's the new like team of ToughPigs. I seem to recall that it starts out with me saying something like, "Hi, I'm Ryan Roe, and I hope that you'll find me to be the Ryan Roeiest of all the writers."
That is almost verbatim what you wrote. Yes.
But I don't. It's not the one about the apples with Sesame Street stickers on it.
It's
is it?
not. It's not.
It's not. It's not the Dark Crystal review.
No, that was a bit later. This was you did a recap of Big Bird's appearance on Deal or No Deal.
Oh yeah,
that was your very first ToughPigs article.
Wow. Here's something about that is I left out a very important part of what happened because I didn't watch the entire episode. You said January?
Yeah.
I must have been, I don't know, either I taped it on a VHS tape or I DVR'd it while I was staying at my parents' house for the holidays.
Well, don't forget, like at this point, Tough Pigs had been dark for a year, so
Right.
we were probably going back and covering things that we probably should have covered for the last few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I probably just had this on, like I had DVR'd it while I was at my parents' house for Christmas, and then I made some notes and wrote about it later. But yeah, there was a part early in the episode with the guy who was the contestant on Deal or No Deal when Howie Mandel, the host, was chatting with him. And Howie Mandel said something like, oh, so something interesting I heard about you is you, as a kid, you were afraid of Big Bird. And the guy was like, yeah, Big Bird. He was always just kind of freaking me out. And then later in the episode, he's trying to make a decision about what he's going to do. And that's when the door opens and Big Bird sneaks up behind him. But when I wrote my review, I had not seen the part where they established that he used to be afraid of Big Bird, which is kind of the point of Big Bird being there.
Right.
So,
That's also a bit of a stretch.
It's a flawed recap. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? We wrote a lot of flawed articles back in the day. I can name a few, and I won't, because we're.
Oh, I actually have some notes about. I don't know. We can get to that later, maybe. But some of my least favorite articles.
Well, let's do that. No, why not? That's a segue. Tell me,
Okay.
you did a little bit of your own research of into
Yes,
your own history.
Yeah, and how many articles did you say I've written?
You're
1,000 something?
credited with something around 1,100 articles, but that doesn't
That's
count all of the group things that we've done. That doesn't count
Right.
the things that you've done like with other people, like me or Anthony or whoever. That doesn't
Yeah.
count the podcasts. That doesn't count the what else? There's more.
Does
There's
that
a lot
not
more.
count the podcast? Because I post those under my own
Oh, you do?
name.
Well, then it does count the podcast. Well,
Okay, so there's 100 something.
sure. Oh, yeah. Okay, so
that
only
are,
a thousand.
but hey, wait, I do a lot of hard work on those.
You
so
do a lot of
actually
hard
those
work.
should be counted.
Well, also,
Yeah.
like you and I specifically, we pitch articles to the other writers. We edit them.
Yeah.
We collate things from the internet that we maybe don't necessarily put under our own names.
Right.
So that number is much higher of actual work that we've done for individual articles. But you are solely credited for about 1,100.
And what's your number? I understand that you will not be interviewed on this podcast because it would be silly for you to interview yourself. So I feel like I should ask you some of these questions.
I don't have it in front of me, but it's somewhere around 2,600, I think.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Also,
Yeah.
like a lot of those are news, like news.
There
items.
was a time I remember when you just I don't know if you made a decision to catch every news article that came along, but I would see some news thing pop up and I would be like, oh, we should put that on the website. And then I would go and you had already posted it an hour ago.
This is a little, I guess, inside baseball, behind the scenes, tough pick stuff, which I guess is the point of this podcast. But yeah, we got to a point where we realized we're spending way too much time on these things that should be really quick and easy. Like, there's too much news. And, we were spending too much time on it. And so, I don't know about you, I made a decision to say, okay, if I can't write and post a news article from soup to nuts in 10 minutes, then it's not worth doing. That's an article. That's not a news bit. And we just got very quick about, you throw in a picture, you write two paragraphs, you put in the video link, you get it on Twitter, Facebook,
Right.
Instagram, and you're done. Move on with your life.
Right.
So that's why there's a whole lot of those.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of went into overdrive on those for a while.
Yeah, I mean, but
Although
in a good way.
Say, and I'm sure you're going to talk to him also, but now our contributor Shane Keating is really good about catching a lot of those news.
That's
articles
right. Yeah.
quickly.
So stay tuned for a future episode where we interview Shane Keating all about how he's taken a lot of that off of our hands. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So articles that are not my favorites of my own. Something that we sort of always, it's one of these okay, you got to do something about this, is when there's a trailer for a new project, whatever it is, a Muppet thing or a Henson thing or whatever. We have to, I guess we don't have to, but we kind of feel like we have to write some kind of reaction, especially because it's the internet, and that's what you do on the internet.
Right.
Is you do reactions to things.
Right. Well, other people will be reacting. Therefore, we might as
Right,
well
exactly.
also react, and then maybe people will care about our reactions
Yeah.
more than their own.
And I think these are usually you or me writing these, and those, when I look back on them later, I'm always just like, this is nothing. I'm just saying oh, at the 30-second mark, Kermit makes a funny face, and that looks funny. It's just, so those are among the ones that I have never. But also, I don't think people are going back and revisiting those. So
I hope
That's okay.
I hope they are to an extent. Maybe not to like that article in particular.
Right.
But like we'll keep going with some of your least favorites.
Although it is, maybe this is what you were thinking, it is an interesting historical document. Like,
for sure.
The first time we see a teaser trailer for the Muppets 2011 movie, I'm sure there's a reaction article out there by you or me, and I'm sure it would be interesting to go back and see what we were thinking when we didn't know very much about that.
It's true, and it's funny because you and I have this in common. We're both collectors. We're both, I hate to say it, we're both hoarders in a certain way. But like we recognize that I don't think it's because of Jim Henson, but we look at Jim Henson and see like he kept everything, and thank God he kept everything because now they have this extensive archive. Yeah. And all these stories that are told through these scraps of paper and these photos and these film strips and whatever else they have there.
Address books
right.
and everything.
So the very least that we can do is make sure that our entire ToughPigs archive is intact.
Oh, yeah.
With the exception of, I think we've deleted 2 or 3 articles over the years for various reasons.
There have been a couple that we sort of, thought like maybe that wasn't the best. So then another thing is reviews. Reviews are hard.
Yeah.
And I've said this multiple times in multiple places, but I feel like I have gotten better at writing reviews because of our Muppet Show 40 Years Later series, which it has forced all of us to approach this thing where it's like every time you're reviewing one, it's an episode of the Muppet Show. So there are a lot of similarities, and you're reviewing the same kind of thing every time. So, but that means you have to make it interesting. So I think that has made me a better writer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I've always said this too: is it's much more fun to write a bad review than a good review, and
a negative review.
Thank you. A negative review versus a positive review, and just from a writer's standpoint, because especially when there's something like a new Muppet Show, a Muppet series out, and we are reviewing every episode week to week. To say like, well, recaps are fine. They're not really interesting writing or reading, I think. But we have to have that. But then beyond that, it's like, are we just saying it's good? I liked it. It's good. I liked it. Like over and over again.
Yeah. So I'll try to get through some of these quicker now.
It's okay.
When we were doing my weeks with the Jim Henson Hour, either it fell onto me or I signed up for it to review the Monster Maker episode, which is that just like 1 hour sort of short film about, or special, whatever it is, about the boy who befriends the guy who makes monster creature things for movies, and there's that giant Ultra Gorgon. And I just never really, like, you can read that, and if anyone wants to, like, if any of our writers, any of our contributors listen to this and if they want to volunteer to write a better review than that, please do, because I just when I read it now, I feel like I'm not really saying anything. I'm just sort of talking about like, this guy is kind of like Jim Henson, and there's a cool big dragon puppet in it, and I like that, but I'm not really saying anything of substance.
I mean, the nice thing is, we, because of how long our website's been around, and now we have so many different outlets between articles and podcasts and videos and other stuff like that. Like, we can review things more than once. Like you mentioned the 40 Years Later Muppet Show reviews that we did, and Danny already reviewed some of those,
That's true.
14, 15 years ago. So, there's no reason that we can't go back. There's new voices, new opinions, new formats, to review. So yeah, I think we'll get to those again at some point. Why not? Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Who's going to tell us no?
Well, we were doing the Jim Henson Hour 25 years later, so we could do it, 35 years later.
Sure.
Whatever.
Great. We'll look forward to that.
And then Puppet Man, for the first time ever some years ago, this long-lost Jim Henson sitcom pilot was released, and I reviewed that. And again, it's just like, it's a lot of recapping. It's not really a lot of actually, it just doesn't read like criticism. And at one point, I came up with the idea that it reminded me of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and I kind of talk about that a little bit too much in the review. So that's like, I'm just, when I look at it now, I say, what was I thinking?
Although, you talk about recaps, and one of the things that you and I struggled with, I think, for our first few years at ToughPigs was how much to emulate the style of Danny Horn's ToughPigs.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And one of the things that he did a lot, because there was no Muppet Wiki to just put information for people to find, and there was no YouTube where people could just
Right.
like watch these things. So he would just do recaps, or literally he would just write transcripts of
Yeah.
sketches and things like that. We were talking earlier about how we had never seen a special Sesame Street Christmas, and we hadn't
Yes.
seen it for years after Danny wrote about it. So for years, all we had was Danny's recap of that special. So I do think that, like, although yeah, recaps are dull, it's technically part of our history
Yeah.
of Tough Pigs.
That's true. Although I think by the point of the Puppet Man pilot being well, and just the fact that it was online, and that's why I was writing the review. Is like, hey, everybody, you can watch this online, and now read a few paragraphs of me describing what happens in it, and for some reason comparing it to the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So, then the Lady Gaga and the Muppets Holiday Spectacular. I think I wrote that one quickly after that special aired. The special wasn't great. I don't remember when that came out. Was that before the 2011 movie?
Good question. It was after, because Walter's in the special.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it felt like a time when it was like, okay, maybe we should just be grateful to get anything new with the Muppets. So I was trying to be positive. And then I hit on this one idea of like, oh, what this is really about is kids should watch this special so they can manage their expectations of Christmas morning, because it's a holiday special, and sometimes you really want something good for Christmas and you open your presents and you don't get the thing you wanted, and that's what the special is like. But I didn't have that idea until I was like 2/3 finished writing the review, so I just kind of stuck it in there at the very end. But I should have like rewritten the entire review with that idea in
I hear
mind.
you. There's definitely some reviews that I've written over the years that I'm ashamed of my opinion.
Oh, really?
Like, the one I always cite is Letters to Santa, which I gave a glowing review.
We were so excited.
We were so excited to have a new Muppet thing, and I recognize this now. We fell into a trap as journalists where we were invited to the set, and we had a great time on the set. And so, of
Yes.
course, we want to give this thing a good review because they were so good to us.
Yeah.
And that's not how journalism works. We have to be honest. And we have to separate our experiences
Yes.
and our connections with our opinions.
That is tricky.
Yes.
And I do think it's a different thing now than the way it was when Danny was running the site by himself, and he was just one guy, and he was just writing all this stuff, and he was just like free to say whatever but I think it's social media is part of it, but just the fact that we are aware of the fact that these performers and directors and writers could potentially read the reviews that we write, and sometimes we're meeting them, like you say, on sets and events and things. That has definitely changed the way I think that we write reviews, and maybe we're a little bit self-conscious about that sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if this actually has anything to do with what we were just talking about.
No, it does. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say self-conscious, but we definitely, it's something that we have to be aware of, and it's something that like you said, we have relationships with a lot of these folks, and I think that for the most part we do right by them, because we don't say like we don't complain about their work as to say like they did a bad job.
Right.
We complain about the work when it's not up to the standards that we've all set, and by us all, I mean us and the performers themselves. So they've approached us to say, like when we've written something, that we about something that we didn't care for, they've approached us privately to say that they agree with us, and thank you for calling them out on it. But we can talk a little bit more about that kind of stuff in a minute. But I do want to kind of segue from talking about our worst articles
sure.
to talking about some of your favorite articles, because we've written things that we're also proud of.
Oh, a few, yeah.
Maybe one or two at least. Do you have any favorites that kind of stand out to you?
A lot of the kinds of articles that I tend to gravitate toward writing fall into a few categories. One of them is correcting misinformation, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like just when people have the wrong idea about factual Muppet information.
Well, your series, which is aptly titled "Stop Being Wrong."
Yes, that was an early-ish one for me called "Stop Being Wrong." One of my favorite articles of mine of all the ones I've written is called "Don't Call the Muppet Performers Voice Actors."
Yeah, that one still has a lot of life. It gets shared a lot on the internet.
Yeah, in which I explain, give a lot of examples of Muppet performers getting stuffed into uncomfortable physical situations and why it's so much more than just the voice. Although we love voice actors, and voice actors are great and talented, that they're just not the same thing. I wrote one called "Yes, the Sesame Street Characters Are Muppets." That one I think was very useful because that's something that people get really confused about when there's an article about a new Sesame Street thing. I don't know. You just see a lot of comments like, "Oh, that's not a Sesame Street character. That's a Muppet."
Right. You also wrote one about Cookie Monster not being the Veggie Monster.
Yes, it's called "Here's an Article to Show to People When They Mention Veggie Monster."
Right, and somehow that still comes up like all
it
the
does,
time.
And I don't know if I'm. We have recently been trying to pay a little bit more attention to SEO, which is like. My instinct is just like, I don't care about that stuff. Let's just write good things and hope that people find them. Although, realistically, I know that there's all these like algorithms and things that you're supposed to do and that you should be doing for people to find your stuff. Which, maybe we don't care if if the unwashed masses like us or find our stuff, but it would be nice to have a few more readers.
Yeah, no, that's also a tricky balance. We don't need to do a whole podcast about that, but yes, it's awful, and I hate it.
Yeah, but here's an article to show to people when they mention Veggie Monster. I haven't tried, but I would hope that would show up if you Googled Veggie Monster or is there a Veggie Monster or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
I'm looking at a few that I wrote down here. Kermit is not a homicidal coffee salesman.
Oh yeah, that's
was
important.
One where I explained that Kermit is not the same character as Wilkins, despite a few articles, and every once in a while it makes the rounds on Twitter.
Yeah, people need to stop being wrong. Do you think if people stopped being wrong, then you wouldn't have anything to write about?
I would probably have about the number of ideas for articles that I have for the website would probably be cut in half at least.
Incredible. Yeah. All right, there's a challenge to all you folks out on the internet. Stop being wrong. We'll see what Ryan does.
Yes, please stop being wrong. On a similar note, another category of articles that I tend to gravitate toward is just like complaining.
Sure. Who doesn't love to complain? Look, right. ToughPigs is founded on the concept, on the bare bones concept that we love to complain.
I think that's one of yes, exactly. We're carrying on a proud tradition. Like one of Danny's classic articles was about the flat-faced Kermit poser puppet that got a huge response when he first wrote that.
It's true. We still call that old Kermit poser flat-faced Kermit.
Yeah.
He's got a flat face. Yes. I mean, what else are you gonna call him? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's one I wrote called "Nah, Elmo Didn't Ruin Sesame Street," which is really complaining about other people complaining. So that's a fun.
That's okay. It counts as complaining.
Yeah. And then a couple years ago, I wrote, "Why is there only one song about rainbows?" About the fact that Kermit only seems to perform Rainbow Connection anytime he makes an appearance anywhere.
And you could probably do a follow-up to that now because he's sung it so many times since then.
Yeah, because guess what? He's sung it twice in
the past week.
In the past, the past 3 weeks. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're recording this in early July.
As we record, yes.
Yeah, people know. But as far as we know, when we actually post this interview, he will have sung it 7 or 8 more times.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? If you count, I don't know if you should count the Barbra Streisand.
That's true.
That monstrosity makes 3 in the past month.
And that's another thing that you wrote a complainy article about.
Yes, I did. I complained about the auto-tuned Kermit on the Barbra Streisand
incredible
record.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've gotten to do outside of writing articles that you would I think be very proud of. We've been at this game for a really long time. You and I have been running ToughPigs for around 15 years. And over those years, we've gotten to meet people, do things, go to places that... I often describe it as things I would put on my bucket list, but I didn't know that they were on my bucket list until I actually did them. And now, they're my favorite things in the world. So that includes things like, set visits. You and I have been to the Sesame Street set several times. We were on the set of Letters to Santa. And then while there, we've gotten to interview people, interview Muppets. Do you have any favorites of those visits or interviews that stick out to you?
Wow. I I sometimes feel weird about even talking about it. Like I never want it to seem like we're bragging
Right.
or even humble bragging about this kind of stuff. But yes, it's cool.
But yes, I brag. I brag
Well,
that I like
no,
it.
I really try not to because I don't want other people to feel bad because we're talking about the cool stuff that we do.
Well,
But,
here's the thing: I have two thoughts just to before you go on with that. One is I never feel like I'm bragging because number one, I do. We've done a lot of work for a lot of time to get to this point. Like if someone wants to, meet Abby Cadabby, well, run a Muppet fan site for a decade, and
Right.
and then hopefully you'll get a chance.
spend hours and hours writing articles. And,
Yeah. Number two is that this is our payment. This is not a job, not like a paying salary job for us. We do
Absolutely not.
We do not earn money. There's no profit in our pockets from doing anything with Tough Pigs. So our payment is sometimes experiences, and those are also few and far between.
Yeah, no, it's not like we're doing this every week. Or,
No, no.
Yeah, even every year.
Yeah, so I do believe that we earn it. Oh, and then the third thing, I said there were two, there's three. The third thing is, we don't do it because we want to meet these characters. We do want to meet these characters or go to these sets or whatever. We
Yes,
do
we
it.
do.
Yes, we do. But the real reason that we're doing it is so that we can take these experiences and then we can pass them along to all of our Tough Pigs readers. We don't
Right.
we don't want to just meet Abby. We want to interview Abby and then shoot a video and then put that video online and then share it with everybody.
Yeah, and we also like to watch things like that when other people do them.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, yes, fans enjoy watching stuff like that. So.
That's true. Yes.
But yeah, the first couple things that come to mind, this was on a Sesame Street set visit when we interviewed Abby and Rosita at the same time, and they were just like, it was relatively early on, I think, and just like they already knew who we were and knew our names and were very enthusiastic about the website. Rosita thanked us for believing in them, which was just lovely.
Yeah, that is lovely.
Yeah, that was a nice one. And then on a later visit, we did a little video with the count,
Yes.
which is on YouTube. The Abby and Rosita interview is also on YouTube. That was a thrill, just to be doing a little bit with the count where
we
he's
did a
counting.
bit.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
This on a completely different note. When we did that Letters to Santa visit, I remember a moment. So it was very hot in that studio. They had a huge industrial fan blowing, and when they weren't shooting, so between takes, this giant fan was blowing to cool everyone off. And then when they were ready to start shooting again, they would turn the fan off. So at one point, the fan was on. They were about to start. Kirk Thatcher said, "Kill the fan," and they turned off the fan. And then he turned to us and pointed at us and very menacingly said, "Kill the fans."
I don't remember that.
And we sort of like pretended to cower in the corner, and that was just very fun and exciting.
That's fun. I didn't remember that. That was a
Yeah.
fun day, man.
Yes.
Being on set for Letters to Santa was incredible.
And we were there, like we had been invited to
Yeah.
come and just hang out. I don't think they thought that we would stay all day, but then we did, because why wouldn't we?
Yeah, right. They didn't tell us to leave. We were being very respectful and staying off to the
Yeah.
side and all that. And yeah, we stayed all day. It was great. We got to meet like Dave Goles and we did a huge interview with Steve Whitmire that day.
Yes.
And we got to have lunch with them, which we weren't
Which I
expecting.
think was Steve's idea. He was like, "Hey, do you want to
Yeah.
do an interview with me?" That was very nice of him.
That was yeah. That was because I had stumbled on them filming outdoors for Letters to Santa.
Right, we had
couple weeks
seen
earlier.
like a the internet was so different then, but we had seen some little news piece that was like,
Yeah, because they had
in
put
a
up
local Brooklyn.
Yeah, they had put up a sign like on a telephone pole, like no parking because they're
Yeah,
filming.
yeah.
They're filming here for Muppets, and I was like, well, I'm free that day. I'll just go, and I was gonna just
Right.
watch from the sidewalk, and then I did, and then I Steve Whitmire came out with Kermit to meet some of the fans, and I tapped him on the shoulder, told him who I was, and he was like, oh, come with me, and then like kind of
Yeah.
went backstage with him for a few hours and. Backstage, it was like under a tent with all the puppeteers.
Outdoors, yeah.
Yeah, and then Steve was like, "Hey, we should do an interview. Come on back." And we set up a time for you and I both to go while they were filming in studio.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
that
always
was
credit
great.
that experience with what catapulted Tough Pigs. Like that's what when it,
It
went
was
from
it was a turning point, yeah.
yeah when it went
I
from
guess
like
we're
just-
lucky they were shooting that special in New York City.
yeah very
rather than
lucky
LA, yeah.
But yeah, I always say that's when we went from being just like a blog that we kind of did once in a while to like, no, this could be something. This could be bigger. We could do more.
Yeah.
Because we had never done anything like that before. Set visits, meeting, interviews.
No,
like that.
I think the only interview before that on the Tough Pigs website was when Matt Vogel emailed me when he had a new album coming out by his band, the Mighty Weaklings.
Oh
And
yeah,
was
that's
like,
right.
Hey, I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm a puppeteer on Sesame Street. If you want to interview me, and I was like, of course I know who you are. So we just did that over email. But that was the only one before that.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So in addition to Steve Whitmire, you have interviewed folks like Frank Oz, Paul Williams, and Carol Spinney. That's quite a roster. That's quite a Mount Rushmore there.
Yeah, I think in fact those are the three that I mentioned in when they asked me for a bio when I was on the Muppeturgy podcast. Because wow, how did this happen?
How did that happen? I know, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, all of these people that we're talking about, they're all great. They're all so cool to the fans and just so generous with their time and nice to talk to.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and we both interviewed Frank Oz together over the phone. I think we ended up going longer than we were originally told that we were gonna go. So that was
a treat.
Yeah, because we just kept asking him questions about like Rufus and Harvey Slapper, and he just kept talking. Paul Williams. You mentioned this on your previous podcast on this feed, but we met him at his hotel and he bought us breakfast.
That was incredible.
I don't see. This is what I'm talking about, though. I feel like we shouldn't even be talking about this because how does this sound to everybody?
I don't know. I hope people appreciate. I mean, it's a lot. It's work. This is still work. And yes, I got to. Paul Williams treated me to a couple of eggs and a cup of coffee.
Right.
But really, like we did a lot of prep work to get in touch with him, schedule it, write questions, go out of our way to go to him, then take that interview, edit it, transcribe it, post it, promote it.
Right.
It's not just like, and then we got to meet Paul Williams. There's a lot of stuff that goes that's around that.
And taking time off work from our day jobs, which
that actually pay
I'm
us
sure,
money.
I'm sure the day that we met Paul Williams in the morning, I had to stay late at work at the end of the day to catch up on the stuff that I missed.
That's right. Yeah, it was worth it.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. And then Carol Spinney was at Comic-Con. We've both chatted with him, but I think we just kind of asked him, like, do you mind if we interview you for a few minutes? And we had a conversation on the subway on the way to Comic-Con that day, because we also wanted to interview a bunch of Muppet comic book artists. So I think we ended up with like, okay, so Joe will interview. Well, it was basically Ryan will interview Carol Spinney and Joe will interview everyone else. That's the only way to balance it out.
It was a really difficult. That was hard for me. I'm going to be honest with you.
Sure.
It was really hard for me to not be the one on camera with Carol. But we had a handheld camera. Like someone had to hold the camera and someone had to be on camera. That's the only way it works. We've also we did a New York Comic-Con panel once where we had a Muppet performer.
Yeah. That was great.
We had the great Fran Brill. And
now you organized that. See, this is I do feel like I should be interviewing you. So you organized that, and because you had been trying to find a reason or something to latch onto for us to host a panel, and that was the year that Brian J. Jones's biography came out.
Yeah, we were trying to do like a Muppet panel or a Henson panel, and the problem is that these brand names, like you can't just do a like you need permission.
Yeah.
And I tried to get permission from one of the big three, and it just wasn't really panning out. And I was talking to someone at Henson, and they told me, you have a loophole. Is the Brian J. Jones's Jim Henson biography had just come out. They had already signed a license that they're allowed to promote the book using the Jim Henson name. So you may not be able to do a Jim Henson panel, but you could do a Jim Henson the biography panel.
Yeah, it's just about the book.
Yes. So I reached out to the publisher, and they said, yes, you can promote our book. I'm going to say no. So, Brian J. Jones came in. We got Fran Brill, and we got to bring Prairie Dawn along for her to perform for everybody.
I think there's still a video of that. I think the Nerdist was in the room, and they recorded it and posted it on YouTube. And the moment when she brings out Prairie Dawn, you and I are both so starstruck that we can't think of anything to say for a minute.
It was hard.
She's like, "Hi, 2, 3, 4. Well, bye." she's just waiting for us to say something, and then eventually we broke out of our stupor and started asking her questions.
Well, and this is probably a good way to talk a little bit about you and me specifically in our relationship, and specifically like our interviewing relationship. You and I have interviewed a lot of people together, and most of the time when people get interviewed, it's just one person.
That's true.
And I've always felt like sometimes I do the legwork to find the person or to get in touch with them to schedule it or whatever, and it's like, but we're partners. Like, it doesn't feel right to just kind of not include you. And
thank you.
You're welcome. But I'm always so grateful because you and I have known each other for so long. We have such a rapport that it's nice to be able to having a conversation with someone, and then that thing clicks in your mind. We're like, I don't know what to ask them next, and I can look at you and you look at me and you go, I got this. And then you can ask the next thing.
I was so grateful for that during the Frank Oz call.
Yes.
I think that was really a good example of that.
That was also, we did a lot of prep work for that to make sure that we weren't going to just leave Frank hanging or sound dumb. I didn't want to sound dumb in front of Frank Oz.
No, absolutely not.
No. So for that reason, it's been really nice. But I will say the Comic-Con panel was really hard to do with two moderators. That maybe in retrospect, it should have been just one of us.
I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've been to other panels at cons where there are two moderators, or maybe splitting it up. But I don't know. It was just a different dynamic.
Yeah. That's okay. It was still fun. Hopefully it's still on YouTube. If it is, I'll link to it in the show notes and all that.
Not that I'll ever watch it again, just because I don't know about you, but certain things like that, or when we post the the raw audio of interviews, I get very self-conscious about my own voice and my own how prepared I sound or how nervous I sound on some of these. So
well, I think that all of our podcast experience is helping with that. At least it is for me.
Yeah.
That's a good segue to talk about. You have a podcast.
Oh yeah, I do.
What is it?
It's called My Brother and Me. Wait, no, that's not me.
Which brother are you?
I've never actually listened to that podcast. I've heard great things about it, but so yes, I am one of the co-hosts of Moving Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast.
It's my favorite podcast.
Brought to you by ToughPigs.com.
It's legitimately, and I always have to have the asterisk of, I'm not just saying this because it's under the ToughPigs umbrella. I genuinely love this podcast.
So here's a point where I genuinely am gonna brag, and that's to say that I know for a fact that you, Joe Hennes, used to say that you could not listen to podcasts. You had no interest in them because you just didn't have any interest in listening to people talking.
Correct.
And after we launched Moving Right Along, you started listening to it, and then eventually you became, is it fair to say that you're a podcast person now?
I mean,
I don't know if
I
you
guess
listen
so.
to any other.
I only listen to a few. To be perfectly honest, and that's more of a time thing than an interest thing.
Oh,
but,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I have grown to appreciate and even love podcasts. But it absolutely, you're 100% right. It absolutely started.
We converted you.
Yeah, with Moving Right Along. Yes.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
So Moving Right Along. I mean, people hopefully know, but you're reviewing the Muppet movies 2 minutes at a time. You have lots of guests. You're already deep into Muppets Take Manhattan, so you're getting close to finishing with the original Jim Henson trilogy of Muppet movies. How did the concept start? Where did it come from?
We stole it.
Great.
So there's a podcast called Star Wars Minute, which is still running at the time of this recording. I believe they are getting near the end of The Last Jedi. They review and discuss the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. They also do an episode every Monday through Friday, which I don't know how they keep up that pace.
Wait, they do 5 episodes a week?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nuts. No,
it's
thanks.
crazy.
Yeah.
So Star Wars Minute, I was listening to that. I loved it. Hosted by Pete the Retailer and Alex Robinson. They're great. Then there were a couple other podcasts that were starting for other nerdy properties. Like I think there was a James Bond one that was doing the James Bond movies 1 minute at a time. So I had the idea like, oh, we should get in on this. We should do a Muppet version of this because there's so many Muppet movies and we have so many things to say about them. As I recall, the first time I mentioned it to you, I said maybe you could be my co-host with me, and you were like, yeah, I don't know if that, because I think you were still not in on podcast yet.
It's true. It's also
you weren't
like,
on board.
I mean, we don't need to get into this, but like, it's a big time commitment to do a podcast.
That's absolutely.
And we didn't know what we were doing yet.
Big time commitment.
Yeah.
Then I went to our friend and fellow contributor Anthony Strand, and I think shortly after I mentioned the idea to you, I think Anthony came to me and was like, hey, I've been listening to Star Wars Minute, and I was thinking we should do something like that. I think that's how it happened. I should go back and check my emails.
Let's just say definitively that's how it happened.
Who's
going to tell us that we're wrong?
I believe we both had the same idea.
Great. Well,
so Anthony and I became the co-hosts.
Stay tuned for a future episode where we interview Anthony Strand, and we will see what his
he can confirm or deny.
Yes.
So early on we decided that maybe 2 minutes at a time would be a little better just to get through the movies quicker, so we could have like 48 episodes a season instead of 96 episodes a season.
I remember actually you pitched that you were going to do 5 minutes at a time, and I was like, that's too much. Like you have so much to talk about in an hour, and all these little details. And I'm glad you settled on 2. 2 is, I think, a good. There's a lot that happens, but you're not taking 20 years to finish this podcast.
I don't think Anthony will let me, but I still am. I keep thinking about like, should we switch to 5 minutes for Treasure Island and Muppets from Space? Like, are people gonna want to listen to 2 minutes? Are we gonna have enough guests? But we'll see.
You've been doing well so far, to be honest.
Yeah.
And like I personally have been the guest on many Doll episodes where there's not much that's happening on screen, and yet we fill the time.
For some reason, we thought it would be a good idea to have you on for the opening credits and the closing credits of the Muppet movie, just because that would be a nice bookend. But then, as you pointed out, that meant that all you had to talk about were words on a screen.
It was a lot of reading. It was like doing a podcast on a book.
Yes. So, the other cool thing, when we had the idea inspired by Star Wars Minute, Anthony and I were talking about it for a long time, like talking about it for 3 years before we actually did it. But you and I were hosting like a screening, or it was actually like a Muppet Vault, like one of our Muppet Vault events that we used to host in Brooklyn every month, which you may have talked about already.
We have not.
Oh, well then we should talk about those too briefly at some point.
Great.
We happened to be at one of those in association with Comic-Con, and the event right after ours in the same room was hosted by Star Wars Minute. So as we were leaving the room and they were setting up, I just introduced myself to them and said, hey, do you mind if we steal your idea but do it for Muppet Movies? And they said, yeah, that's fine as long as you credit us. So
great.
Yeah.
So we're in the clear, legally speaking.
Yes, and there's a million of those now. For movies that I sometimes wonder, like, is anybody really going to watch or listen to a minute at a time of, Top Gun? I guess so.
Yeah, but those Top Gun fans are probably saying, is anyone really going to listen to 2 minutes at a time about Muppet movies?
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. There's a fan base for everything.
Yes.
So let's talk about Muppet Vault. What's Muppet Vault, Ryan?
Muppet Vault was a series of live events that we did in Brooklyn for several years, where it started as our friend Steve Swanson from the Muppet Cast podcast was going to be in New York City, and we thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we got a bunch of Muppet fans together in the same room and watched some rare Muppet stuff and asked some trivia questions. And at that first one, I think we did like a Muppet impression contest.
We did it in Muppet. We had a lot of ideas in that first one.
We didn't know if we would ever do another one, so it was jam-packed.
It was like 6 hours long.
Yeah.
It was way too much. People were leaving halfway through, and we're like, do they hate it?
Yeah.
It's like, no, they're tired of sitting, you know?
Yes.
Yes, we showed a lot of clips. We did trivia and prizes. We did a Muppet impression contest.
Yeah. We had also hooked up with Germ Pollitt, who was producing a lot of kind of like quirky nerd pop culture events in Brooklyn at the time.
So yeah, he produced our show. And he
Yeah.
brought in a friend who had an animal puppet, like one of those old 70s Fisher-Price.
Yeah, well,
puppets.
that was, I forget his real name, but that guy was Corn Mo.
Corn Mo.
The indie rock musician.
That's right. He's also the lead singer of the band Tragedy.
357 Lover?
No, well, I don't know about that.
Does he have two bands?
He probably has several. He probably has a dozen.
He might
of them.
have many bands.
But
yeah.
the band Tragedy, which I love, they do a lot of covers of disco songs in a heavy metal style, and they're hysterical. It's great.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So he did a very bad animal impression on stage with us. We bantered with him a little bit. We only did that once.
The joke was like Animal was hungover and he had been sleeping on the stage from the concert overnight.
That's right.
And he woke up during our show.
Yeah. So we started doing like more of those because that was a hit.
We were doing one a month for
about 5 years.
Like almost every month, for years.
Yeah.
And then the only reason we stopped for maybe 2 reasons. What were you going to say?
Well, before we talk about why we stopped, let's talk a little bit more of like what the show became, because that first one was chaos. But basically, what we would do is we would pick a theme. So, for example, it's October, Halloween's coming up. Let's do Muppet Vault Monsters, and we're just showing clips from Muppets and Sesame and Fraggles that are just monster related. And we picked some of the themes were big successes, some of them were big flops, and we would basically we got into a formula of. We would have, I think, 3 clip compilations, and then, 4 clip compilations with an intermission in the middle. And then between the first and second, between the third and fourth, we did trivia and prizes. We had drink specials, and sometimes we had special guests. We had one where we were upset that Muppets Most Wanted didn't have a commentary track when the DVD came out.
Yeah.
And so we invited Eric Jacobson and Matt Vogel to come and do a live commentary on the movie, which was great.
Yeah.
But
Don't tell Disney.
Yeah, we covered it with Disney. They said you can do it, but you can't promote it. That was what they told us.
Right.
So it was
we didn't publicize the fact that.
Right.
Yeah, of exactly what it was going to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can read. We actually have I'll put this in the show notes too. We have a write up of everything they talked about. That we had recorded it. And I was able to write it all up for the website. So that's all you get for the commentary is a bullet point article.
Right. I just remembered Matt Vogel and Eric Jacobson were also there at the one that we did right before the Muppets 2011 movie came out, and they did a little Q&A with the audience. Very generous with their time, especially. I think that was. Is it possible that was the day after they had appeared on SNL with Jason Segel?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
I think maybe it was. And at one point, a kid in the audience. And the Q&A asked if Eric Jacobson could talk like Miss Piggy. So
and we were ready to jump in and be like, well, they're not voice actors. It's not a party trick. That's what Frank Oz always says.
Right.
But yeah, Eric was like, sure.
Well, he turned his back to the audience and sort of like got into character.
Well, and he said, okay,
the little
picture
girl.
Miss Piggy standing on stage.
Right.
Envision her. She's right here. And then he did the voice. And then Matt Vogel.
Yes, exactly.
Go ahead.
Matt Vogel said, well, if you want, I can do 80s Robots voice right here. You're going to love him when you see him in the movie.
80s reference. Yeah. And the irony, of course, being now we look back and we're like, that he plays Kermit in Big Bird now. Back then it was like, all he had was 80s Robot.
Right.
That was fun.
So those
yeah.
were fun. Yeah, and you talk about our dynamic, our banter on stage. I hope it was as much fun for the audience as it was for us, but just those moments in between the clips and the intermissions and stuff, when just the two of us would come on stage and talk about the Muppets and what we were gonna see, and do the trivia questions and talk about the prizes that we were giving out. That was so much fun because it was just the two of us riffing and trying to be funny.
Yes, but that, like, when I talk about, like, you and I having a rapport and being able to, like, throw to each other, being able to, like, play off each other, I really do think that the main reason that we do is because we did all those Muppet Vaults. Like, that very much. This is I think an apt metaphor. That was our Jimmy Dean show. You know, that was Rolf the dog learning how to be funny and how to how to sing and, like, work against a human being, every week for years. And now, then afterward, Jim Henson could be this comedy and entertainment genius.
I thought maybe you were going to say us as Jim and Frank, like with Jim and Frank working, like Frank working the right hand, working together as a team.
I hate to suggest that one of us is just the right hander.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, that
we are collectively Rolf the dog.
We're both Ralph's mouth.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, we've had so much fun over the years, man. This has been a blast. Being your writing partner and running this website together, and now we have a third partner in Jared Fairclough, who we're going to talk to
that's exciting.
in a future episode as well. So you'll get his story and how he fits into the Tough Pigs mold.
Yeah.
But
and as you say, a lot of the times for these interviews and things, like, you're just like some kind of crazy machine at getting things done. So you do a lot of the legwork. So I thank you for including me on the ride.
Well, of course.
So much of the time.
I thank you for being there with me, because I don't want to do this by myself. Like,
right.
It's too much, and I'm very tired all the time. So I think
we all.
And also, like, you and I mean, we don't need to get into this too much, but, like, I think people probably just can hear it in our voices. Like, we are two very different people. Like, we're like, you're much more methodical about things. I'm a little more I don't know. I'm a little unfocused, at least in the middle of this sentence. But I do think that...
You mean you didn't write down every single thing you were going to say on this episode of the podcast?
How sad would it be if this was all pre-planned?
It's all scripted.
But we complement each other so well in so many ways, especially with these bigger Tough Pigs features. Like, one of us can worry about the big picture, one of us can worry about the the smaller things. One of us can be writing while the other one's engaging with our cast of writers on the Tough Pigs team.
Yeah.
Like, we really it worked. It's worked very well for a very long time. So I'm very pleased about that.
Yeah,
yes.
It's pretty good. I like toughpigs.com. I hope other people do too.
Same. Big same. So let's wrap this up. I want to ask you, Ryan, as we go, what do you think your ideal Muppet project would be? Or, like, what should the Muppets do next?
Like the actual Muppets.
Yeah. The actual, real, living and breathing, but also felt Muppets.
So I've written an article recently about, it was called something like, "Don't just make the Muppet Show again, make this show instead." I know a lot of people want to see them just bring back the Muppet Show and make it exactly like it was before. I definitely think the Muppets work best in a variety style format. They should be... So this would be a TV show. It would also be great to see them in a movie. I guess I would have to think a little bit about what another movie should be. But for a TV show, it should be a variety style. I mean, Muppets Now kind of had that, but it was just kind of like the same 4 or 5 segments over and over again. It should have musical numbers. It should have not just the sketches that we know, like Pigs in Space and Veterinarian's Hospital, but also some new stuff. That would be great. It should have not just the characters that we already know, but like weird Muppets that we've never seen doing weird things that we've never seen, like the old variety show, the old Ed Sullivan Show sketches and stuff like that. just, yeah, do something similar to what they've done before, but just don't do the same thing over and over again.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
appropriately vague, I think.
And guest stars would be cool too.
Yeah. I agree with all that stuff. That sounds like a blast. I would watch that show.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to watch that show.
You would be reviewing it.
That's right. But no, good answer. Good answer. Well,
you.
Ryan, thank you so much for being here on this podcast. Thank you for all that you've done for ToughPigs over the last 15 years.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything I should ask you?
Nah.
Okay.
No, I mean, one of the nice things about doing this long interview with you has been like our stories are go in tandem, and
Yes.
it's nice to kind of share a little bit of that from myself as we talk to you about this stuff.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on the internet?
On toughpigs.com.
Good answer.
And the Moving Right Along podcast, which is available everywhere you find podcasts, I think. If you find a podcast place that doesn't have it, let me know, and I'll try to add it there. I am on Twitter at Ryan Roe, and I've been, on our podcast, I've been sharing my Letterboxd, which is Movies Are Neat. So if you want to see, if you want to read my review of, I don't know, A Quiet Place Part 2, I think I wrote a review of that, or just see how many stars I gave to, I don't know, Cruella or Where's Papa, the Carl Reiner movie from 1971. Yes, Movies Are Neat on Letterboxd.
They are neat. Is it A-R-E or is it the letter R?
It's A-R-E, thank you, yes.
Good to know. I've been curious.
My profile picture is Digit from the Jim Henson Hour, so
who
that's
else?
how you'll know it's
yeah,
me.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ryan, and please, everyone, give this podcast a good rating if you so choose. Please follow us at ToughPigs on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. We're not on TikTok. We should be on TikTok.
Maybe we should just go register ToughPigs on TikTok right now.
Maybe that's a good idea before someone beats us to it. And also, hey, do you want to support us? We are also on Patreon. So if you really like ToughPigs and you think you might want to support us and maybe get some free stuff along the way, then head on over to patreon.com/ToughPigs and throw us a few bucks. We'd very much appreciate it. We're very hungry. Thank you for listening, everyone, and stay tuned for more interviews with the ToughPigs team coming up very soon.
Ooh.
Goodbye.
Bye.